How's everybody doing today? Today I'm just going to have a little video for you, and this video focuses on loops, but even more specifically it focuses on error checking in your loops. It's available to you on download. It's called C Loops, and I just wanted to kind of walk you through it. I did use a try catch block also as another form of error catching, and you notice I declared three variables. I've got int age, birth date is date time, type variable, and str name as string. Now my idea in this little program is I verify that each of these has the correct type of data, and for age I also verify that it has the correct range, which I set at between 0 and 100, and I click my display message, and it displays a message which concatenates all three of these values into one. So again, just kind of walking you through it. I've declared my three variables. Now I want to verify that for the name they didn't leave it blank. So one of the ways I can do that is with string.empty. So notice I've created a while loop. Here's my beginning of my while loop. The brackets, remember, indicate the starting position, the ending position of the code that's going to be part of this loop. So I've got while txt name equal string.empty. So I'm saying, hey, if the name is empty, what do I want you to do? I want you to keep asking the user to enter this with an input box. Now remember, to use an input box, I already had to do my reference. I had to reference Visual Basic, and I have to use this specific verbiage for an input box, but I keep asking them again and again and again. I keep them in the loop to give me the name until they finally do it. Now, the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to check that age was an integer. C# is a little bit different than Visual Basic in that it doesn't have a do until loop. It has a it has a while loop. But if we put a not indicator in front of the condition, it pretty much creates a do until loop. So what I'm saying here is while not int try parse txt age.text out in age. So basically, well, it's saying, well, I'm not able to take what's in the text box and put it into an integer age variable, meaning somebody must have given me something that was an integer. So while I can't do that, again, keep asking them again and again and again for a message box. So it puts them in a loop, and it will not let them out of the loop until they give me an integer. I have a second level of checking where I check that my age is between 0 and 100. Okay. Again, it's a little bit different than Visual Basic. I have a while loop, and if you remember, the two actually these are straight up slashes in C# signify the word or. Okay, so while int age is less than 0 or int age is greater than 100, keep doing this. Keep asking me for a integer between these two values. Again, it keeps them in the loop. The last thing I did as far as error checking is I have to check that my date, my birth date, is actually a valid date. Just like in Visual Basic, our try parse, we have a try parse for pretty much any variable type. So here I used a date time try parse, and again I use the not function in front of it, because basically I want to keep them in the loop while they're not giving me a correct date. Once they give me a correct date, boom, I want to pop them out of the loop. So that's how I can kind of reverse the while loop here. So I do the same thing. I've got an input box which will keep them in the loop until they give me a correct date. Once I get all that, I just have a little message box. I say hello, I concatenate the str name, you are this age, your birthday is this date. So it just kind of concatenates everything. And since I started with a try catch block, here's the beginning of my try, got my bracket to indicate the beginning of my try portion. This is my bracket that ends my try portion. Here's my catch portion. My catch portion is just a message box. So if all else fails in my additional error checking up here, I still have my try catch block. So if I run this, and I say OK. I'm supposed to enter my name, my age, and my birth date. So if I just hit my button and I don't have anything, first it comes up and says, hey, enter your name. So I will enter a name. I hit OK. It says enter valid integer for age. If I give it, garbage, just a bunch of letters, it keeps me in this loop. And I can enter it as many times as I want until it gets an integer. It's not going anywhere. So if I give it, this case, an integer that's an integer but it's not in the right range, it goes to my second level of error checking. It says please put in an integer between 0 and 100. I'll put in 56. I say OK. So finally it gets to my date. Again, I can put in as much garbage as I want. It will not accept it. Because I've built these error checkings around a loop, it will keep me in the loop until I give it the correct information. I'm going to put in a correct date now, and it should accept that. And then it comes back with the concatenation. It says, hello Chris, you're 56, your birthday is 2/2/2002. Okay. So that's the whole program. Remember, C# is much more picky about variable names, so I suggest that you come up with a a process that works for you. When I create variables, I tend to use the type of variable int, and then I capitalize the first letter. It will catch you if later on I go and I use a small a here. I'm going to get a compile error, so you do have to be extra vigilant about that. But besides that, all the other stuff that we learned in Visual Basic, cross right over. So hopefully you won't have any trouble with this. This should be a helpful video when you do the wage calculation revisited, because I'm asking you to do some error checking in that. Anyhow, hopefully this was helpful. Have a great day.